Nitila Pavishtam Vishnupara Shatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitila Pavishtam Vishnupara Shatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitila Pavishtam Vishnupara Shatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitila Pavishtam Vishnupara Shatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatarashata Shimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchir Ananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dashagunath Shard Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaura-pariṣad-caritāvalī Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Jai. Shri Radha Kun Shama Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Shri Gopal Gosvāmī Ki Jai. Tadiyasha Tirabhav Titi Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Grantaraj Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Hari Bo, Raseshwari Mataji and Rup Manjari Didi, Madhavi Didi, and the other two people who are watching. I don't know who you are, but Dandavat Pranams to all of you. So, yeah, I had a late night last night, and then I had a bunch of messages I had to attend to this morning, and everything got delayed. So I didn't prepare our Srimad Bhagavatam reading this morning, and then today's a very important day. It's Gopal Bhatta Goswami's disappearance day, so I thought we could read from this book, Shri Caitanya and His Associates by Srila Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Goswami Maharaj. And then if there's time afterwards, then we could we can start the 12th chapter. So, Hari Bol Sudevi Didi. And I think, everybody in our WhatsApp group already knows this, but I have a new Discord channel. I just made it last night. Vine of Devotion Discord channel. And in here, I will be posting when I'm going live. Actually, I should make a new channel here for Holy Titis. Anyways, I can do that later. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Holy. I'll just write holy days. That's better. That's more people understand that. Okay. Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, when before any holy days, then we can post here any links and stuff to any special days, and then when I go live, I'm posting the YouTube link here so that you don't need to search for it. You can just click here, and then you can see the live video on YouTube. And we'll be doing our Rupa Shiksha program. I'll be sending the links here. And yeah, I still need to set it up, finish setting it up. All right. Oh, and very special thing. Today is, Rup Manjari Didi just sent here. Today is the day that Rup Manjari Didi and Rukmini Didi got Harinam initiation from Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. They got it on this day of Gopal Bhatta Goswami's disappearance. So we can all pray for them that they can become better and better disciples of their Guru Maharaj and Gurudev. Gurudev is Srila Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Goswami Maharaj, who we'll be reading from just now. Let's see, I found, oops, let me just hide that. Sorry, I didn't find where we are. Yeah, I found on bvmlu.org, I found, so that you don't need to stare at me, I found this. But this doesn't look complete, it's so short. So I guess we'll read from this, and then when this, let me just find it in the book. 1 second. Gopal Bhatta Goswami 294. Okay. Sorry, guys. 294. Okay. Ananga Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami from Srila Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Goswami Mahārāja, his book. What is it? Gaura-pariṣad-caritāvalī. Ananga Manjari Yasit Sadhya Gopala Bhattaka Bhatta Goswaminam Kechit Ahu Shri Gunamanjarim. And I'm actually reading directly from the book, but I'll try to follow along on the screen also. But that's why if there's any difference in, it's because, like, if what I'm saying is different from what's on the screen, that's why. She who is born, because there's a new edition of this book. She who is formerly Ananga Manjari has appeared to enrich Mahaprabhu's pastimes as Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Some say that Gopal Bhatta is actually Guna Manjari. That's from Gaur Ganodesh Tipika 184. Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami appeared in 1500 AD, though according to some authorities, he appeared in 1503. So he appeared as the son of Venkata Bhatta in the town of Srirangam in South India. Their residence was in a village not far from Srirangam called Belgundi on the banks of the Kaveri. According to Bhakti Ratnakar, Mahaprabhu gave Gopal Bhatta a dream vision through which he could witness all of his Navadvip pastimes. Though Gopal Bhatta Goswami was an eternal associate of Krishna, he appeared in a faraway place in order to make a special contribution to Lord Gauranga's pastimes. Thus, even though he was living too far away to know anything about the Lord directly, he was still able to know long before he met the Lord in person that he had appeared and taken sannyas. Gopal Bhatta did not particularly like the Lord's appearance as a sannyasi. This austere form distressed Gopal Bhatta, who was thus crying alone when the Lord appeared to him and gave him this vision of his pastimes in Navadvip. He then took Gopal Bhatta on his lap and drenched him with tears. Wow, that's so beautiful. And then this is from Bhakti Ratnakar 1, beginning 1, verses 123 to 124. The Lord then embraced Gopal Bhatta and drenched him with his tears. He then told Gopal to keep all these revelations a secret. Gopal Bhatta's mind was absorbed in a state of intense joy. And how Gopal Bhatta was just a child at this time, wasn't he? When Mahaprabhu went. This is before Mahaprabhu went to South India, so he must have been really little. The Lord's teaching to Gopal Bhatta's father. One second. Just checking here. Okay. Okay, everything's. The Lord's teachings to Gopal Bhatta's father. In 1510, Mahaprabhu made his auspicious entrance to the pilgrimage city of Srirangam. Oh, this is very different, huh? Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen because this part doesn't seem to be in here. Okay, so I'm just reading from this book. Unfortunately, I don't have my phone, otherwise I could share, like I could film my phone, but anyways, you could. In 1510, Mahaprabhu made his auspicious entrance to the pilgrimage city of Srirangam. He was invited by Venkata Bhatta, a Vaishnava of the Sri Sampradaya, to spend the 4 months of the Chaturmasya in his house. Knowing him to be a strict Vaishnava, Mahaprabhu accepted his invitation. In fact, the Lord's pastime of coming to Srirangam and staying at Venkata Bhatta's home was to give his mercy to Gopal Bhatta and his family, for the Lord knew that Gopal Bhatta, his eternal companion, had appeared there. At this time, Gopal Bhatta was still a young boy. He was fortunate enough to be able to serve the Lord by massaging his feet. Even though he was satisfied with Venkata Bhatta and his family's service, the Lord observed that Venkata Bhatta had an element of pride in his object of worship. He believed that his worshipable deity, Lakshmi Narayan, was the supreme worshipable object, that Narayan was the source of all other avatars, including Krishna, Ram, and Nrsimha. His reasoning was that Narayan is never born, while Krishna and Ram take birth in the world. He thus thought, Mahaprabhu worships Krishna, the avatar of Narayan, while we worship Narayan, the source of all avatars. As Madhusudan is the destroyer of false pride, Mahaprabhu finally decided one day that he would do so for Venkata Bhatta. He asked him in a mild-humored, witty tone, Venkata Bhatta, I hear that no one is equal in opulence to your Narayan. The same is true for your worshipable goddess, Lakshmi Devi. On the other hand, the object of my worship, Krishna, has no opulence of any kind. He wears garlands of wild forest flowers and uses peacock feathers for decoration. He is the son of Nandagopa and spends his day grazing the cows with the other cowherd boys. Sorry, one second. My worshipable goddesses, the gopis, are also nothing but poor cowherd girls. I wonder, therefore, why your worshipable Lakshmi Devi came to Vrindavan to perform austerities in the hope of gaining Krishna's company in the Ras dance. Venkata Bhatta immediately answered, What's wrong with that? Radha's beloved Krishna is not different from Lakshmi Devi's husband Narayan. Siddhantas, I think this actually, one second. No, okay. Sorry. So then he gives the verse. Siddhantaste tabedapi Shrisha Krishna Sarupayo Rasenot Krishyate Krishna Rupam Esha Rasastiti. Though according to theological doctrine, Krishna and the husband of Lakshmi are identical in essence, the form of Krishna is superior when analyzed from the point of view of divine sentiment. That's from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-59. So by tattva they're the same, but by ras they're different. One's superior. Since the divine sentiment in Krishna is superior, there is no fault if Lakshmi Devi chooses to seek his association and performs austerities to that end. Then Mahaprabhu answered, I'm not saying that there is any fault. Ontologically, Krishna and Narayan are identical. The difference between them is based on the variety of ras, transcendental taste or mood. When the Lord performs pastimes of opulence, he is Narayan. When he performs pastimes of sweetness, he is Krishna. She who is Radha and Krishna's pastimes is Lakshmi Devi in the pastimes of Narayan. Thus, when Lakshmi Devi performs austerities to have the association of Krishna, there is no question of her breaking her vows of fidelity to her husband. Thus, she went to perform these austerities in Vrindavan. But I have another question for you. Why, even after trying so hard through such penances, etc., to enter Krishna's Raslila, why was Lakshmi Devi still unable to do so? Venkata was terribly distressed at being unable to give. Mahaprabhu observed his distress and tried to pacify him by saying, You yourself said that Narayan and Krishna are identical ontologically, but that the superiority of Krishna is due to the in rasas. Narayan is involved in 2.5 of the 5 principal rasas, whereas in Krishna there is a complete manifestation of all 12 rasas. All 12 rasas, that is, of all 12 rasas, that's the 5 principal rasas and the 7 secondary sentiments. Since Narayan's pastime is primarily one of opulence and majesty, his principal devotee is Lakshmi Devi, who also worships him in the appropriate mood of awe and reverence. The same Lakshmi Devi is Radhika in order to heighten the experience of conjugal love. Unless one follows in the footsteps of Radha and her expansions, the gopis, who are the repositories of the transcendental divine love, it is impossible to relish Krishna's sweet qualities. Lakshmi Devi, however, did not follow in the gopis' footsteps, but continued to perform her austerities in the mood of awe and reverence. As a result, she repeatedly found herself in the company of Narayan and never in that of Krishna. By way of contrast, the Shrutis followed the gopis in the Rag Marg, and so were ultimately able to achieve Krishna's service in that mood. As long as one continues to think of Krishna in majestic terms as Lord and controller, one cannot possibly worship the Lord. One cannot possibly worship in the spirit of Raganuga Bhakti. Mahaprabhu said, Krishna has one extraordinary characteristic. By his sweetness, he attracts the minds of the entire world. By taking on the mood of the Vrajagopis, one can attain to his lotus feet. The people of Vraj have no idea that Krishna is the Lord and controller. Some think of him as their son and even tie him to a mortar, while others take him to be their friend and climb on his shoulders. The people in Vraj only know him as the son of Nanda, whereas in the attitude of awe and reverence, the devotee does not have a concept of such a relationship with him. One who takes the attitude of a resident of Vraj will attain Krishna as the son of the king of Vraj in Vrindavan. That's Caitanya Charitamrita 2.9, 127 and 131. Actually, when I was living in Jagannath Puri, the temple president, Vangsi Badan Prabhu, had us memorize these verses. I forgot them now, though. Skande Charai something or other, the coward boys climbing on the shoulders of Krishna. Tumi kon boro lok, tumi ami sama. What big person are you? You and I are the same. It goes through the different rasas like that. When the gopis, the objects of my worship, that's one thing I wish was in this book. It doesn't give the Caitanya Charitamrita verses. There's only translations, no actual original verses, even though the original verses are in the Bengali book. When the gopis, the objects of my worship, were abandoned by Krishna in the ras dance, This is all from Caitanya Charitamrita, Bhakti Ratnakar. What I'm reading right now is from Bhakti Ratnakar 5, 624 to 629. When the gopis, the objects of my worship, were abandoned by Krishna in the Ras dance, they began to cry in the intensity of their distress at not seeing him. Krishna came to them in the form of Narayan, but the gopis simply paid their obeisances and moved on in search of Krishna, showing absolutely no interest in him as a lover. When Radharani stood before the disguised Krishna, however, he could not maintain the four-armed form, but once again appeared in his form as the holder of the flute. Such is the power of Radharani's love. And there's a footnote here. The place where this happened is near Govardhan and is called Pesadam or Petadham, which means the place of entering, because Krishna's two extra arms merged back into his body there. Okay, so now this is from Caitanya Charitamrita 288. Nandanandan Krishna is the avatari, or source of all avatars. Narayan, Ram, Nrsimha, etc. are all his avatars and expansions. Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only the Personality of Godhead, the source of all other divinities, is eligible to be designated Swayam Bhagavan, or the primeval Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28 says, Ete changsa kala pungsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. All of the previously mentioned forms of the Lord are either plenary expansions or partial expansions of plenary expansions, but Krishna alone is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear in every age to protect the saints whenever the enemies of the gods disturb them. Okay, now next part. Gopal Bhatta's Guru. And I think this is online. So I'll switch over. Oh, and I'm getting a message. This is my phone now. Oh, cool. Thanks, Ranjari Didi. She just posted the YouTube link in our WhatsApp group. Okay. Gopal Bhatta's Guru. Oh, wait, I'm sharing my screen. Okay. Through the power of Sri Krishna Chaitanya's Mahaprabhu's merciful association, Venkata Bhatta, his brother Prabodhananda Saraswati, his son Gopal Bhatta Gosvāmī, and all the other members of his family were inspired to give up the worship of Lakshmi Narayan and became engaged in the exclusive devotional service of Radha and Krishna. Srila Gopal Bhatta Gosvāmī took initiation from his uncle, Tridandi Jati Srimat Prabodhananda Saraswati. Proof of this is found in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. And it was this Gopal Bhatta Gosvāmī's disappearance day a couple of days ago, wasn't it? A few days ago. Bhakter Vilashansh Chinute Prabodha Nandasya Shishyo Bhagavat Priyasya Gopala Bhatta Raghunatha Dasam Santoshayan Rupa Sanatanocha. I, Gopal Bhatta, the disciple of Prabodhananda Saraswati, who is dear to the Lord, have compiled these most essential and glorious devotional doctrines to satisfy Raghunath Das Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami. That's Hari Bhakti Vilas 1-2. Gopal Bhatta's parents were very fortunate, and this is from Bhakti Ratnakar, beginning 163 to 165. Gopal Bhatta's parents were very fortunate, for they surrendered themselves, their life and soul, to the feet of Lord Chaitanya. They ordered their son to go to Vrindavan before they left this world, absorbed in meditating on the Lord. Gopal Bhatta Goswami traveled directly to Vrindavan, where he met with Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. Now the next section, Gopal Bhatta comes to Vrindavan. When Gopal Bhatta Goswami arrived in Vrindavan, Goswami and Sanatana Goswami wrote to Mahaprabhu to tell him. The Lord was overjoyed and immediately wrote back, telling them to affectionately take care of him as though he were their own younger brother. Śrīla Goswami compiled the Has and published it in Śrīla Gopal Bhatta Goswami's name. Rupa Goswami considered Gopal Bhatta to be as dear to him as his own life and engaged him in the worship of the Radharaman deity. Curious how old, does anybody know how old Gopal Bhatta Goswami was when Mahaprabhu was in South India? Okay. Śrīla Gopal Bhatta Goswami became one of the 6 Goswamis, but he always kept an attitude of meekness and humility. Thus, when Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami approached him for permission to write Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, he granted it, but under the condition that he not write about him. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami could not go against the order of Gopal Bhatta, and thus nothing more than mention his name. Sri Jiva Goswami writes in the introduction to the Shat Sandarbha that he wrote it of an earlier text by Gopal Bhatta. Śrīla Gopal Bhatta Goswami also wrote a book called the Sat Kriya Sardipika, Light on the Essential Sacraments for the Vaishnavas. Thus, his contribution to Gaudiya Vaishnav literature was in editing the Hari Bhakti Vilas, preparing the notes for Śrīla Jiva Goswami's Shat Sandarbha, and in compiling the Sat Kriya Sardipika. He also gave great joy to the community of devotees by writing a commentary on Bilva Mangal Thakur's Krishna Karnamrita. Oops, to move this down. Amongst his disciples were Srinivasacharya and Sri Gopinath Pujari. The following story is told about Gopinath Pujari becoming Gopal Bhatta's disciple. Oh, this isn't in the book. Okay. Okay. So, sorry guys. It's hard to read from the book and be attentive to this. Okay, so the following story is told about Gopinath Pujari becoming Gopal Bhatta's disciple. One day, Gopal Bhatta went to visit the town of Saharanapur, not far from Haridwar. On that occasion, a simple devoted Brahmin engaged in a service in a most unpretentious manner. He had no children, but desired to have a son. Śrīla Gopal Bhatta Goswami knew the desire of the Brahmin and blessed him that he would have a devotionally minded male child. The Brahmin promised Gopal Bhatta that he would give his first son to be his servant and disciple. That son was Gopinath Pujari. It is said that Mahaprabhu had such affection for Gopal Bhatta that he sent him his own belt and kopan, as well as a wooden seat which he had used. These items are still worshipped in the Sri Radharaman Temple by the current Sevaks. Hari Bol Prajumna Prabhu and Mantra Murti Mataji. Shri Radharaman. When Śrīla Gopal Bhatta Goswami was visiting the pilgrimage centers of northern India, he found a Shalagram Shila on the banks of the Gandaki River. He took the Shalagram Shila as Vrajendra Nandan Krishna himself and worshipped him. One day he thought that if his Shalagram Shila were a deity, he could dress and decorate the Lord beautifully. On the very next day, he found that the Shalagram Shila had transformed into the Sri Radharaman deity to fulfill the wish of his devotee. this deity stands alone without any form of Radha standing by his side. Instead, as a symbol of Radharani, a silver crown is placed on his left side. Something I think is interesting is all the deities in Vrindavan, they're all like Radha Damodar, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Gopinath. They all have Radha and then... No. Sorry, never mind, actually. Never mind. Okay, this story is also told in the following way. It is said that Sri Gopal Bhatta Gosvāmī used to daily worship 12 shaligrams. He developed a desire to serve the Lord in the form of a deity, thinking that in this way he would be able to worship him in a much better way. The Lord within his heart knew his feelings, and through a rich merchant had many beautiful items used in the worship of the deity, such as ornaments and clothes sent to him. Gopal Bhatta Gosvāmī began to worry that all these beautiful objects could not be used properly unless the shaligrams took a deity form. That night he put the shaligrams to rest, and in the morning he saw that one of them had been transformed into the Sri Radharaman deity. When Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami heard that Krishna had so mercifully appeared to Gopal Bhatta, they immediately came with the other devotees for darshan, and when they saw him, they were ecstatic with love. The annual festival commemorating Radharaman's appearance when he is bathed publicly takes place on the full moon of the full moon day of Vaishak. The Radharaman Temple is considered one of the most important in Vrindavan. Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami ended his earthly pastimes on the Krishna Panchami of Ashada of 1507 of the Shaka era, 1586 AD. His Samadhi temple is behind the current Radharaman Temple. By reading Srinivasacharya's hymn to the six Goswamis, Sharda Goswami Ashtakam, we can understand their glories. What time is it? Maybe we could, let's see if we can sing that. It is 8:14. We have 15 minutes. Oh, and Pradyumna Prabhu? Yes, there is a book by Gurudev on the lives of acharyas. The book was formerly called Sri Prabandhavali, and now it has a different name. You want to see it? We just republished it, like just very recently, and it has a really beautiful cover. I'll show it to you. Give me 1 second. This book doesn't have so much, but see, isn't this such a beautiful cover? Kamala made it. So it doesn't have everything. It has all the special days from, it used to be called Sri Prabandhavali, and then we changed the name to A Treasury of Holy Days. But yeah, it has all the titis for, from Kartik time till Nityananda Trayodashi, it has all the appearance days and disappearance days. All right, so let me just get the Sharda Goswami Ashtakam ready. Or should we read from Srimad Bhagavatam? I'm fine with doing either. I'm just opening up the songbook. Let's see, what's the Srimad Bhagavatam? Sorry guys, you're just, if you need to go now also, that's totally fine. You don't need to. This is what I do for each chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. The way I prepare, I put in the chapter, I make the text really small, and then I paste it in here to get a word count. But because you're all here, I'm just going to do this quickly. Okay. Okay, so this chapter has 9. Oh, that was dumb of me. I've never done control. Whatever. This chapter has 9,398 words. So it'll take us a couple days to read it anyways. Let's see. It's killing of the demon Agasora. Okay. Maybe, okay. Actually, let's read up to verse 12 of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then we can finish the chapter, right? Then we can finish the chapter tomorrow. Otherwise, it will take us a while to read it. Because yeah, we could do 6,508 words. All right, so that's what we're gonna do now. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, we could read 2,000 words now, 2,800 words now. All right, sorry for the change of plans all of a sudden. Is everybody okay with that? Yeah, Manjari, but then we can finish the Leela tomorrow if we read a little bit now. Oh, wow, that is so cool. On the day today when Rup Manjari Didi and Rukmini Didi took Harinam from Śrīla Bhakti Pramod Puri Gosvāmī Mahārāja, he spoke first on the killing of Agasora and then Brahma Vimohan Leela, which is exactly where we are now. So also, and for that's special for you if we read this today, isn't it? Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 12, killing of the demon Agasora. And what verse we're reading up to verse 12. Okay. This chapter describes in detail Krishna's pastime of killing Agasora. One day, Krishna wanted to enjoy a picnic lunch within the forest, and therefore he went out early into the forest with the other cowherd boys, accompanied by the respective groups of calves. While they were enjoying their picnic, Agasora, the younger brother of Putana and Bakasura, appeared there, desiring to kill Krishna and his companions. The demon, who had been sent by Kamsa, assumes the form of a python, expanding himself to the length of 8 miles and the height of a mountain, his mouth seeming to extend from the surface of the earth to the heavenly planets. Having assumed this feature, Agasura lay on the ground. Krishna's friends, the cowherd boys, thought that the demon's form was one of the beautiful spots of Vrindavan. Thus, they wanted to enter within the mouth of this gigantic python. The gigantic figure of the python became a subject for their sporting pleasure, and they began to laugh, confident that even if this figure were dangerous, Krishna was there to protect them. In this way, they proceeded toward the mouth of the gigantic figure. Krishna knew everything about Agasora, and therefore he wanted to forbid his friends to enter the demon's mouth. But in the meantime, all the cowherd boys, along with their groups of calves, entered the mouth of that gigantic figure. Krishna was waiting outside, and Agasura was waiting for Krishna, thinking that as soon as Krishna entered, he would close his mouth so that everyone would die. While waiting for Krishna, he refrained from swallowing the boys. In the meantime, Krishna was thinking of how to save the boys and kill Agasura. Thus he entered the mouth of the gigantic Asura, and when he was within the demon's mouth, along with his friends, he expanded his body to such an extent that the Asura suffocated and died. After this, Krishna, by casting his nectarian glance upon his friends, brought to life, and with pleasure they all came out unhurt. Thus Krishna encouraged all the demigods, and they expressed their pleasure and happiness. For a crooked, sinful person, there is no scope for Sayuja Mukti, or becoming one with the effulgence of Krishna. But because the Supreme Personality of Godhead entered the body of Agasura, By his touch, this demon got the opportunity to merge into the existence of the Brahman effulgence and thus attain Sayujya Mukti. When this pastime was performed, Krishna was only 5 years old. 1 year later, when he was 6 years old, and he stepped into the Poganda age, this pastime was disclosed to the inhabitants of Raj. Parikshit Mahārāja inquired, "Why is it that this pastime was disclosed only after 1 year, and yet the inhabitants of Raj thought it had been performed that very day?" With this question, the 12th chapter ends. Oh, and that leads into Brahma Vimohan Lila. Cool. Text 1. Vacha Kochbanashaya Chedashaya Manodadvrajat Prata Samuthaya Vatsapa Prabhodayan Chringa Ravena Charuna Nirto Vatsa Pura Sarohari. Shukadev Gosvāmī continued, "O king, one day Krishna decided to take his breakfast as a picnic in the forest. Having risen early in the morning, he blew his bugle made of horn and woke all the cowherd boys and calves with its beautiful sound. Then Krishna and the boys, keeping their respective groups of calves before them, proceeded from Vrajabhumi to the forest." Oh, my voice is cutting out a bit, huh? Let me check the connection. Oh, sorry, you said Srila Gurudev. Yeah, I thought that's what I meant to say, actually. That's what I understood. But maybe I... Hare Krishna Shah Sharmaji. Oh, maybe, anyways, whatever. Sorry about that. Okay, text 2. Tenaiva sakam prituka sahasrasha snigdha shushig vetra vishannavenava swan sahasro pari sankyayanvitan vatsan puraskritya vinir yayur muda. At that time, hundreds and thousands of cowherd boys came out of their respective homes in Vrajabhumi and joined Krishna, keeping before them their hundreds and thousands of groups of calves. The boys were very beautiful, and they were equipped with lunch bags, bugles, flutes, and sticks for controlling the calves. Krishna vatsera sankyatar yuti kritya savatsakan Charayantor bhalilabhir vijahrus tatra tatraha. Along with the cowherd boys and their own groups of calves, Krishna came out with an unlimited number of calves assembled. Then all the boys began to sport in the forest in a greatly playful spirit. Purport by Śrīla Prabhupada. In this verse, the words Krishna Vatsar Asankyatai are significant. The word asankyata means unlimited. Krishna's calves were unlimited. We may speak of hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, billions, trillions, tens of trillions, and so on. But when we go further to speak of numbers impossible for us to count, we are speaking of unlimited numbers. Such unlimited numbers are indicated here by the word asankyatai. Krishna is unlimited, his pose is unlimited, his cows and calves are unlimited, and his space is unlimited. Therefore, he is described in Bhagavad Gita as Parabrahman. The word Brahman means unlimited, and Krishna is the supreme unlimited Parabrahman. Okay, it's better now. Great. Therefore, we should not consider the statements of this verse to be mythological. They are factual but inconceivable. Krishna can accommodate an unlimited number of calves and an unlimited measurement of space. This is neither mythological nor false, But if we study Krishna's potency with our limited knowledge, that potency will never be possible to understand. Ata Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahayam indriyai. This isn't actually in the book, this whole section. Our senses cannot perceive how he could keep an unlimited number of calves and cows and have unlimited space in which to do so. But this is answered in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Evam prabho priyanang cha dhamnascha samayasya cha avichintya prabhavatvad atra kinchin nadurghatam. Srila Sanatana Gosvāmī in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita states that since everything about Krishna is unlimited, nothing is impossible for him. It is in this sense that we have to understand this verse. Text 4. Bala prabala stavaka samana picha dhatubi kacha gunja mani swarna bhushita apya bhushayan. Although all these boys were already decorated by their mothers with ornaments of kacha, gunja, pearls, and gold, when they went into the forest, they further decorated themselves with fruits, green leaves, bunches of flowers, peacock feathers, and soft minerals. Mushnanto nyonashikyadin gyatan arach chachikshipu tatratyascha punardurad dasantascha punardadhu. All the cowherd boys used to steal one another's lunch bags. When a boy came to understand that his bag had been taken away, the other boys would throw it farther away to a more distant place, and those standing there would throw it still farther. When the proprietor of the bag became disappointed, the other boys would laugh. The proprietor would cry, and then the bag would be returned. I love this. I'm going to save this verse. So mean. One second. Okay. Purport. The kind of playing and stealing among boys still exists even in the material world, because this kind of sporting pleasure is present in the spiritual world, from which this idea of enjoyment emanates. So if we see that going on in this world, we know the reason why. It's because Krishna and his friends do that kind of thing. Janma dasya yataha. That's first. That's Vedanta. Yeah, that's Vedanta Sutra, second verse of Vedanta Sutra. This same enjoyment is displayed by Krishna and his associates in the spiritual world, but there the enjoyment is eternal, whereas here on the material platform it is temporary. There the enjoyment is Brahman, whereas here the enjoyment is Jada. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant to train one how to enter oneself from the Jada to the Brahman, because human life is meant for this purpose. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. That's first verse of Vedanta Sutra. Krishna comes down to teach us how we can enjoy with him on the spiritual platform in the spiritual world. Not only does he personally display his pastimes in Vrindavan and attracts people to spiritual enjoyment. Haribo Prabhu, are you going for prasad right now? For breakfast? Would you be able to put my plate down there? Would you mind? And I'll come to get my. You just put it down there. You just put it down and I'll come. Yeah, no need to bring it back. Cool. Now I don't need to be in a rush. Okay. Okay, Krishna comes down to teach us how we can enjoy with him on the spiritual platform in the spiritual world. Not only does he come, but he personally displays his pastimes in Vrindavan and attracts people to spiritual enjoyment. Yadi durangato Krishna vanasho bhikshanayatam aham purvam iti sangsras re mire. Sometimes Krishna would go to a somewhat distant place to see the beauty of the forest. Then all the other boys would run to accompany him, each one saying, I shall be the first. I shall be the first to run and touch Krishna. I shall touch Krishna first. And this way they enjoyed life by repeatedly touching Krishna. Verses 7 to 11. 7-11. Never mind. Kechidvenun vadayanto dhamna shringani kechana kechid bringai pragayanta kujanta kokilai pare vichaya bhi pradhavanto gachanta sadhuhangsakai bakar upa vishantascha nritantascha kalapibhi vikarshanta kishabalan arohantaschatar druman vikorvantaschatai sakam plavantascha palashishu sakam vekar vilanghanta sarita sravasam sampluta vihasanta pratichaya shapantascha pratisvanan itam satam brahma sukhanubhutya dasyam gatanam paradaivatena maya shritanam naradarakena sakam vijahru krita punya punja. Okay, Manjari Didi. Oh, and it's 8:33. Anyways, we're almost. We only have two. This part and then verse 12. All the boys would be differently engaged. Some boys blew their flutes, and others blew bugles made of horn. Some imitated the buzzing of the bumblebees, and others imitated the voice of a cuckoo. Some boys imitated flying birds by running after the birds' shadows on the ground. Some imitated the beautiful movements and attractive postures of the swans. Some sat down with the ducks, sitting silently, and others imitated the dancing of the peacocks. Some boys attracted young monkeys in the trees. Some jumped into the trees, imitating the monkeys. Some made faces as the monkeys were accustomed to do, and others jumped from one branch to another. Some boys went to the waterfalls and crossed over the river, jumping with the frogs, and when they saw their own reflections on the water, they would laugh. They would also condemn the sound of their own echoes. In this way, all the cowherd boys used to play with Krishna, who is the source of the Brahman effulgence for Gyanis desiring to merge into that effulgence, who is the supreme personality of Godhead for devotees who have accepted eternal servitorship, and who, for ordinary persons, is but another ordinary child. The cowherd boys, having accumulated the results of pious activities for many lives, were able to associate in this way with the supreme personality of Godhead. How can one explain great fortune? Purport. As recommended by Srila Rupa Gosvāmī, Tasmat kenapyupayena mana Krishne niveshayet. It's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 124. Srila Vamana Goswami Maharaj quoted that a lot. Somehow or other, whether one thinks of Krishna as an ordinary human child, as the source of the Brahman effulgence, as the origin of Paramatma, or as the supreme personality of Godhead, one should concentrate one's full attention upon the lotus feet of Krishna. That is also the instruction of Bhagavad Gita 1866, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam praja. Srimad Bhagavatam is the easiest way of directly approaching Krishna. Ishvara sadhya hridyavarudatre trakritibi shushushabik takshanat. Usually it's, oh, okay, yeah. Sadhya hridyavarudate. Okay. Diverting even a little of one's attention toward Krishna and activities in Krishna consciousness immediately enables one to achieve the highest perfection of life. This is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. Lokasya janato vidvangsh chakre satvata samhitam. Bhagavatam 176. The secret of success is unknown to people in general. And therefore, Srila Vyasadeva, being compassionate toward the poor souls in this material world, especially in this age of Kali, has given us the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam. That's Bhagavatam 12, 13, 18. For Vaishnavas who are somewhat advanced, or who are fully aware of the glories and potencies of the Lord, Srimad Bhagavatam is a beloved Vedic literature. After all, we have to change this body, tata dehantara prapti. If we do not care about Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, we do not know what the next body will be. If one adheres to these two books, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, one is sure to obtain the association of Krishna in the next life. Tyaktva deham punar janma naiti mam eti sorjuna. Therefore, distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world is a great welfare activity for the theologians, philosophers, transcendentalists, and yogis, yoginam api sarvesham, as well as for people in general. Janma labha para pungsam ante narayana smriti. That's Bhagavatam 2.1.6. If we can somehow or other remember Krishna, Narayan, at the end of life, our life will be successful. Okay, so we're ending with this verse. And very short purport. Yat pada pangsur bahugyan chai. Yat pada pangsur bahujanma krishranto dhritatma bhir yogi birapya labhya sa eva yadrig vishaya swayam stita king varnyate dishtam ato vrajokasam. Yogis may undergo severe austerities and penances for many births by practicing yam, niyam, asan, and pranayam, none of which are easily performed. Yet in due course of time, when these yogis attain the perfection of controlling the mind, they will still be unable to taste even a particle of dust from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What then can we describe about the great fortune of the inhabitants of Rajbhumi, Vrindavan, with whom the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally lived and who saw the Lord face to face? Purport. We can simply imagine the great fortune of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. It is impossible to describe how, after many, many births of pious activities, they have become so fortunate. So we will read this pastime of the killing of Agasora tomorrow. Dear King Parikshit, thereafter there appeared a great demon named Agasora, whose death was being awaited even by the demigods. The demigods drank nectar every day, but still they feared this great demon and awaited his death. This demon could not tolerate the transcendental pleasure being enjoyed in the forest by the cowherd boys. So we'll find out what happens next tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shri Guru Dev Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Shri Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Shri Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Mahabhagavat Srila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Nitila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Mahārāja ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Sharda Gosvāmī Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaura-pariṣad-caritāvalī ki jai. Nama Chai Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Mahārāja ki jai. Shri Radha Kun Shama Kun Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Gopal, Srila Gopal Bhatta Gosvāmī ki jai. Tatiya Shubha Tirabhav Titi ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha. Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha. Kripa Sindhu Bhyaivacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams Chandramukhi Didi and everybody else who's watching. See you all tomorrow for the killing of Agasora. Haribol. Oh, and if you haven't seen before, I mentioned it at the beginning, but I made a new Discord channel. So we have a whole thing here for Srimad Bhagavatam. And also I'm going to put things about the different holy days, the upcoming holy days when they, and for our Rupa Shiksha program, which we're going to do now on Zoom, since I'm not able to make videos anymore. And very soon I'm going to be starting to work on the new songbook, the new edition of Gaudiya Giti Gucha. So if you if you join this Discord group, then you can come and make suggestions, and I can ask questions to you for what you want in the songbook and all sorts of stuff like that. Here, there's a kirtan request thing, so that if you go to vineofdevotion.com and you subscribe there are 3 different levels of subscription, and on the different levels you can request certain numbers of kirtans that you want to learn how to sing, and I'll go over them every month. And yeah, and I'm going to be making a video once a week on Vine of Devotion from Rays of the Harmonist. I'll read it out. A good quality recording. Like I'm not going to do it live. I'm going to practice and try to make all the sentences very smooth and all that. So anyways, I'll post that here and we can discuss the articles here. And also ideas for videos. I've been, when I do get a phone, I plan on making, where is it? Sorry. Where did I put it? Oh yeah, new article ideas. So see, these are all a bunch of ideas of things that I'd like to make videos on. And all these have different, like I've been fleshing them out, you know. Anyways, yeah. And so you could help me think of ideas of future videos to make in that Discord group. And I'll add other things here also. All the scheduling, when I'm going live, if we're changing the program, anything, all that will be announced here also. And you can introduce yourself. We've already a bunch of people joined last night, and there's been a whole conversation going on. So, yeah. All right. The link to this is you'll see it on my Facebook page. I put a link. And also, no, actually, easier way to find it is go to vineofdevotion.com and see the article there. And I write an article about this group. All right, Dandavat Pranams, everybody. See you all tomorrow. Oh, and Atulananda Prabhu. Haribol.